In July 2024, President Donald Trump, a figure known for his unconventional approach to governance, shocked the world, sending ripples of uncertainty and disbelief across international markets and political spheres. He did so by slapping a sweeping 50% tariff, a substantial levy that threatened to dramatically alter trade relations. This tariff was imposed on all goods imported from Brazil, encompassing a wide array of products from agricultural commodities to manufactured goods. Unlike traditional trade disputes, which often revolve around issues of fair competition or market access, Trump's move was openly punitive, a clear departure from established diplomatic norms and trade practices. It was framed as retaliation for Brazil's prosecution of his ally, a controversial justification that raised eyebrows worldwide. That ally was ex-President Jair Bolsonaro, a figure who shared ideological alignment with Trump. Trump staunchly defended Bolsonaro, whom he called a victim of political persecution, alleging unfair treatment by the Brazilian justice system. This unprecedented use of tariffs, wielding economic policy as a tool for personal and political objectives to defend a foreign political figure, specifically one facing legal challenges, shattered diplomatic norms, creating a chilling effect on international relations and trust. It sent a clear signal that U.S. trade policy, traditionally guided by economic principles, could now be wielded as a weapon of personal loyalty, prioritizing political alliances over established trade agreements. The sudden, immediate implementation of the tariff, without prior consultation or warning, left businesses scrambling, struggling to adapt to the abrupt shift in trade dynamics and financial burdens. This amplified the disruption, causing significant bottlenecks in supply chains and impacting consumer prices. The move sent a clear message, a stark warning to other nations about the potential consequences of challenging U.S. interests. It signaled that the U.S. would go to great lengths, even employing unconventional and potentially destabilizing measures, to protect its chosen allies, regardless of the broader implications for international trade and diplomacy. Experts warned with increasing alarm that this blurring of economic policy, intertwining it with personal and political agendas and political vendetta, risked undermining the stability of the global trading system. Such actions could destabilize global trade, disrupting established trade routes and creating uncertainty for businesses worldwide. This set a dangerous precedent for the future, potentially encouraging other nations to weaponize trade for political gain. U.S.-Brazil relations have long been strong, but the Trump-Bolsonaro era forged a uniquely personal alliance rooted in shared right-wing populism. Bolsonaro, now facing serious legal charges in Brazil, has been cast by Trump as a victim of political enemies, turning a domestic legal battle into an international flashpoint. Trump's support escalated from rhetoric to action with the tariff, directly tying U.S. trade policy to Bolsonaro's fate. Bolsonaro, now residing in the U.S., publicly thanked Trump, framing the tariff as a defense against judicial tyranny. This move has complicated diplomacy, making it appear that U.S. economic power is being used to shield a foreign political figure from justice. The result, a tangled web of personal loyalty, international policy, and rising diplomatic tension. The 50% tariff. Let's delve into what this significant levy truly entails for both the United States and Brazil. It's a blanket tax, a sweeping measure imposed on virtually every Brazilian product as it seeks entry into the U.S. market. This isn't a selective tax, it's comprehensive. From the ubiquitous coffee beans that fuel our mornings and the prime cuts of beef, to the essential steel used in construction and the intricate aircraft parts that keep our planes in the sky, no sector is spared. American importers are now confronted with a massive and immediate surge in costs, a financial burden that threatens their bottom lines. This will inevitably lead to price hikes that are certain to hit consumers directly, impacting household budgets across the nation. And manufacturers alike who rely on these imported goods will feel the squeeze, potentially impacting production and competitiveness. Key U.S. industries, especially the food sector, which depends heavily on Brazilian imports, and the construction industry, which utilizes Brazilian steel, are bracing themselves for significantly higher costs and potential disruptions to their already fragile supply chains. For Brazil, the impact of this tariff is both immediate and undeniably severe, posing a significant economic challenge. The U.S. stands as one of Brazil's top export markets, a crucial destination for its goods. And now many Brazilian goods are effectively priced out of the American market almost overnight, rendering them uncompetitive. Businesses on both sides of this trade equation are scrambling to adapt to this new reality, reassessing strategies and seeking alternative solutions. Existing contracts are being disrupted, forcing companies to renegotiate terms or face potential legal battles. And shipments are caught in limbo, stuck at ports and borders, creating further delays and uncertainty. The complete lack of a transition period has ensured maximum economic pain, amplifying the negative consequences for all involved, making it abundantly clear that this action was primarily about punishment, rather than a good faith effort towards negotiation or compromise. The ripple effects of this tariff are already beginning to reshape global trade flows, altering established patterns of commerce, and threatening jobs across both the American and Brazilian economies, raising concerns about potential economic downturns. American consumers are already feeling the pinch, with prices rising on everything from coffee to construction materials. U.S. manufacturers reliant on Brazilian steel and aluminum face higher costs, threatening their competitiveness and jobs. Major business lobbies warn the tariff could disrupt supply chains and hurt American workers more than it pressures Brazil. In Brazil, exporters are reeling as orders vanish and the real tumbles, with thousands of jobs at risk. Economists predict a sharp drop in U.S.-Brazil trade, deepening the economic pain on both sides. Global markets are rattled, fearing this could spark a wider trade conflict and slow economic growth worldwide. The message is clear: this is a lose-lose scenario with both nations and the world caught in the crossfire. The global backlash was immediate. Brazil condemned the tariff as economic aggression and filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization. The EU and China warned that such politically motivated tariffs threaten the rules-based global order and risk igniting a broader trade war. Protests erupted in Brazil, with citizens accusing the U.S. of bullying and interference. The WTO fast-tracked its review, keeping the dispute in the global spotlight. The U.S. found itself isolated, with few allies supporting its move and most observers decrying the use of trade policy to meddle in another nation's justice system. America's diplomatic standing took a hit, as the world questioned its reliability and respect for international norms. Trump's tariff is widely seen as a political gambit to energize his base ahead of the 2024 election, casting himself as a defender of conservative allies. The move has split U.S. politics. Hardline Republicans cheer, but moderates and Democrats warn it will hurt American workers and consumers. In Brazil, President Lula rallies national unity against U.S. interference, while Bolsonaro embraces the tariff as proof of his persecution. The spectacle of a former Brazilian president supporting a foreign policy that harms his own country has only deepened the political drama. For Trump's supporters, the tariff is a bold stand for loyalty. For critics, it's a reckless abuse of economic power. The fallout is shaping both the U.S. election and the future of international diplomacy. The future is uncertain, shrouded in a mist of economic and political complexities. Navigating this landscape requires careful consideration and strategic foresight. Brazil is weighing retaliation, carefully considering its options and the potential impact on its own economy. The government is under pressure to respond decisively. This could risk escalating the conflict into a full-blown trade war, a scenario that would have far-reaching implications for all parties involved. The stakes are undeniably high. Such a standoff could disrupt global supply chains, creating bottlenecks and inefficiencies that ripple across industries. Businesses are bracing for potential disruptions. It could also drive up prices, leading to inflation and impacting consumers' purchasing power. The cost of everyday goods could see a noticeable increase. These pressures could push nations to seek new alliances, forging partnerships that reshape the global economic order. Countries are actively exploring alternative trade routes. Brazil may pivot toward China and the EU, strengthening ties with these major economic powers. This shift could have significant long-term consequences. This would mean reducing its reliance on the U.S., diversifying its trade relationships, and seeking greater economic independence. All of this is shifting the geopolitical balance in the Americas, potentially altering the regional power dynamics. The implications are being closely watched by neighboring countries. Other countries, wary of America's willingness to weaponize trade, are reevaluating their own trade strategies and seeking ways to mitigate risk. They may diversify their partnerships, building stronger relationships with a wider range of nations to reduce their vulnerability. The WTO's upcoming ruling could offer a path to resolution, providing a framework for resolving the dispute and preventing further escalation. However, enforcement remains uncertain, and the effectiveness of the ruling will depend on the willingness of all parties to comply. For now, the world watches with bated breath as the drama unfolds on the global stage. The aftershocks ripple through global markets, causing volatility and uncertainty for investors. Financial institutions are closely monitoring the situation. The situation is also impacting international politics, creating tensions and straining diplomatic relations between key players. One thing is clear, the global landscape is undergoing a profound transformation. The boundaries of trade, power, and diplomacy have been redrawn, signaling a shift in the global order. The old rules no longer apply, and the consequences will be felt for years to come, shaping the future of international relations and the global economy.